We're going to the Playa
We're running, Charlie?
We're going to the Playa Venao show.
Levels
We're
look
going
good.
to the Playa Venao
Okay,
show.
it's been
Let's
about a
go.
week or so. Maybe it's been 2 weeks now. But we're back.
Wait, we stuck to our word. We're around the week.
Around the
schedule.
week.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome back to the Playa Venao show. Sitting next to me is Ben. My name is Mo. And today we have one of the most interesting people on the beach, Jonathan Van Vegan.
Sorry, I can't live up to that, but
Did I pronounced your name
you
correctly.
pronounced the name perfectly.
Van Vegan, right?
Perfectly, yeah.
And
But not the most interesting person on the beach.
he's pretty, folks.
Pretty interesting.
He's pretty interesting. If he's being too humble right now, but Jonathan's interesting because he is a couples counselor that lives in Venao with his family.
Yeah.
He's also the owner operator of the Venao Surf Lodge
Yeah,
in
correct.
beautiful and sexy Playa Venao. He's a surf dad. He's lived all over the world in a couple of pretty cool spots.
Pretty cool spots, yeah.
And you know Dutch?
Yeah, I speak fluent Dutch.
You're the only person I know that speaks fluent Dutch.
I speak, when I left Japan, I spoke everyday conversationally fluent Japanese.
Crazy?
And
I know, right?
And I could write Japanese too.
Okay, all right. So we're going to start this interview off like a rocket ship because I just found out something else about the most interesting person in the world. He speaks and can write in Japanese.
Right?
Of course he can. Of course Jonathan can. Like, why wouldn't he be able to, right?
I know, it's so cool.
Okay, so Jonathan, first off, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's
And-
a pleasure. You guys are amazing friends. So I when asked, I said absolutely yes.
Yeah, this is so great, and the fact that you've lived in multiple places all over the world, and you choose to live here and raise your family here, really speaks to how lucky Ben and I are, because we haven't lived all over the world, and we ended up here too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks for doing some of the footwork for
Maybe you
us.
took the fast road. I kind of
Skipped a
lazed
couple
around.
chapters.
Right, exactly. Okay, so for the audience at home, where are you from originally?
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of that question is, how many countries have you lived in for, say, longer than 3 months?
Good question. I like to answer where I'm from by asking where the bird's from. That's kind of how I always view. I'm not a big country nationalist identity person. That said, though, I was born and raised in Canada.
Okay.
Lived there until I was 23, then moved to Japan. So I lived in Japan for 3.5 years. I lived in the Netherlands for 6 years. With the girls, with the family, lived in Mexico for longer than 3 months, lived in Vietnam longer than 3 months, and then also lived again in Japan longer than 3 months. And Thailand, I guess technically you could say Thailand too.
So
The Yukon. Did you say Yukon?
And then the girls are born up in the Yukon, so right beside Alaska. So
That's
but 2 tours in Japan.
2 tours in Japan, and we're thinking about a third down the road. So
So I have 6 countries, 7 visits
Yeah.
yeah.
by that count.
Yeah.
3 languages.
Which is why I say where the bird's from, because they're not from
Yeah.
anywhere, right?
Right.
And I'm not really from anywhere, so
Yeah.
You just go where it
Yeah.
feels good.
go where it feels good.
So how did you study Japan when you were living in Canada? Like, what was the draw?
Yeah, my best friend was living there at the time, and he said, you got to move here. I was working on basically Bay Street, which is kind of the Canadian Wall Street at the time, and hated my life. I was in that fluorescent, under those fluorescent lights in an office building. And yeah, the call was there, and I said, screw it, I'll just pick up and go to Japan. So I saved $1,000, bought a plane ticket, flew to Japan, and 3.5 years later, then I left and went to the Netherlands. But
Wow. So that was like the mid 90s probably that you were.
ended 90s. It was like 90, 99, all the way to 2003. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh, it was a heyday, yeah. I didn't even tell you the job I did in Japan, too.
What's the job that you did in Japan?
I was a wedding officiant, so I married and officiated over 500 weddings.
Really?
know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
That's so wild.
And
Japanese weddings too.
Japanese,
I'm sure it's
well,
completely
because it
different
was all in Japanese, right? So the part of the reason why you got the job because I could speak fluent Japanese, so you had to do the wedding in Japanese. And I kind of did the math, and I was like, based on the number of the 500 weddings that I did, and the number of people that were there taking photos, and the number of photos they would take, I did a rough calculation that I was in 1 million photos
Holy smokes.
in that like 2-year period.
So if you see Jonathan pop up in some like Japanese wedding photos,
Yeah.
it's no
Right.
Photoshop. He
Dude,
was
it's-
actually there.
Yeah,
He's
dude. Where's Jonathan? Remember, where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Where's Jonathan?
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be amazing.
So
Wow, that's so cool.
I had no clue about this, and what I find so funny is that if you've married over 500 couples,
yeah.
is that why you got into marriage counseling, or was that
I'm
just
sure
like a
that
weird
it's like
fluke?
it just comes full circle. Like I never envisioned that I'd be a couples therapist, and then I did my training, did my clinical training, became a marriage and family therapist. Technically, is what I graduated with, and then just started working with couples, and that's kind of what my specialization is. What I love to do too. I love helping couples build better relationships because I know the profound impact that has on the family, on the community, and the world
Yes.
really benefits from when two people are in love and they're raising well-adjusted children. You know, it's all good, right? And we live in such a degenerate world where people throw in the towel and there's like so many challenges and issues out there. So I like doing my part in helping people keep their relationships together. So
Yeah, I'm sure that's got to be incredibly
Yeah.
rewarding. And I
So-
don't know you. I know you see it as a parent. I've seen it as a parent, but kids that are raised under happy, loving relationships compared to kids that are raised where there's an element of conflict in the family.
yeah,
The kids that are raised under the healthy, loving relationships,
Yeah.
they're just happy kids.
yeah.
They're happy kids. They have better coping skills. They learn faster.
Yeah.
You can fix mistakes a
Yeah.
little bit faster.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's very.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's smooth sailing, but it's definitely manageable
For sure,
sailing,
for sure.
You know,
for sure.
when it never gets too crazy or
yeah.
chaotic.
So you went from marriage counseling almost like more like an office type
Yeah.
way to now you're doing your online marriage
Yeah.
counseling.
Yeah.
And we were just having a conversation before the podcast. It's doing really well. You're gaining followers. And,
Yeah.
You know, people are really loving your content. That's really neat, especially being a traveler, because it's something now you don't have to be in one spot
Yeah.
to do, which is
Yeah.
incredible with the internet and your type of profession. So, how are you enjoying that, like transition to being like doing it more like online and
Yeah.
overseas in a sense? You know what I mean?
Well, I had these rose-colored glasses, and I think I was watching a bit too much YouTube. And you remember Ty Lopez?
Not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
He's that YouTuber that says you can make $1 million online. So this is back in 2017, and Meredith and I had gone to Thailand with the girls for a month, got back to Canada, and I was like, shit, I can do this. I could just market myself listening to Ty Lopez and, you know, become this online therapist and make buckets of money. Well, it took me 3.5 years. I barely made a sale, you know, trying to get online, trying to get clients, had no clue, trying to build websites and doing this in like places like Belize, and I was in the co-working spots in Mexico and, you know, trying to hammer away. And Meredith and I were like stressed, you know, up to here, trying to build a website, build a successful business, and just was failing miserably. But then COVID hit, and that kind of changed everything because then people didn't want to do therapy in the office. They wanted to do it online. And then ever since then, it's never really gone back, although I'm sure you could do some in-person therapy. But people, they got to get in their car, they got to leave work, get in their car, drive an hour, go to the therapy session, then drive an hour back.
And there's got to be trust associated with that.
Yeah, and no one wants to do that anymore. So they want to do it online, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can find somebody that you trust online,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
relieves some of those barrier points, those pain points.
For sure.
The cost of driving somewhere and having to sit in an office, waiting for someone, now having to drive back.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll deal with my own stuff, you know what I mean? But if it's as easy as I can meet this person online,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, yeah, I mean, I think that's incredible, you know?
So yeah, so it's great now, and it's funny because I'm actually starting to get some haters on my comments too,
Oh, nice.
really?
which is great.
You
Like,
know you've made
Yeah.
it.
I know people accusing me being sexist and whatnot with my posts, and I was like, okay, this is great. I'm doing something well here, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, other than that, I mean, it's getting good traction on Instagram, and I can see a future in it. In that, I'm getting more Instagram clients and.
And for your own health and wellness, because even after your workday's done, you still have to manage the surf lodge.
Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
have to be a husband.
Yeah.
You still have to be a father. You have two amazing, smart, brilliant kids that need a lot of time and attention. So for you to be able to do your job here, be able to go into the ocean and surf and decompress and have your me time, I'm sure that makes you such a better therapist and father and husband and coworker and all that.
It does, but I do miss the human connection of in-person therapy. Like if I had a choice and I could do it in person, I would. If I was mildly good at marketing, I would turn the Surf Lodge into like a couples retreat destination.
Right.
But I'm just not that ambitious. I'd rather go surf.
Right, I understand that. Yeah. Honestly, we would rather go play than do Instagram posts ourselves.
I love the Instagram posts. I love feeding into, because I get feedback from people. They love the content. I'm giving them stuff on how to, access an emotionally unavailable spouse and, what to do with jealousy and how to feel secure. And so I love putting out the content. But this thought of like building a retreat center, it just seems like a lot of work. And maybe I'm less ambitious now because I have a few years left with young children that I want to enjoy. But I'd rather see you guys on the beach than, be hammering away on some marketing plan or something like that. So
I think you bring up a good point. Like maybe once the kids are older, maybe that will be your calling. But until like your kids are only this age for this long, and then that's it, and then that's a wrap. And watching my own son grow up, watching your kids grow up over the course of 2 years, it's so limited
for sure. It's so we're reminded of that, and then even watching your kids, like I see your son, I see your kids, your 3 kids in the water, seeing them progress on that in surfing is just incredible to watch. I mean, these are kids that, barely could paddle out a couple years ago, and now they're snapping on the waves, right? So it's, from as a community member, as a father here in the community, I just love seeing kids grow and come into their own and become good surfers. It's just like super rewarding to get back and watch. So.
Speaking of snapping, I saw this guy on the wave the other day, and he's snapping right next to Charlie and the other guys, and I'm just like, who's this young gun? Oh, it's Jonathan. He's like, I was gonna say, to follow up with that, when you came here, you had never really surfed.
Never
before,
surfed.
It's like that's another really cool part of your story is you come to Panama and you open a surf lodge, and now you're a surfer, a good surfer. Man, it's just so crazy how going from Canada to the Yukon where there's definitely no surfing.
No surf.
You know what I mean? And now you're here. I mean, how did that feel to come here and like open a surf lodge and be like? Because you basically bought the surf lodge before you were a surfer in a sense, right?
Well, and I had a lot of anxiety because we saw the house and we were like, we're going to turn it into the surf lodge. And I was like, shit, how am I going to give people advice on surfing? Like, I don't know when the waves are good, what the tides are good. And I was super, super worried about having, marketing this house as a surf lodge, come and surf, yet I can't surf, right? So it was May 1st, so it's 2 years that I've been surfing, that I joined the Surf Dojo's Surf Academy, and I did that for about 4 or 5 months.
And that's the adult
academy class.
Class. That's
Tuesdays, Thursdays.
2 days a week for 2 hours a session.
Yeah, and I was scared shitless too. Like, going out in these big waves. And I remember the instructors were like, oh yeah, paddle out. I was like, oh my God. Every single time I checked the forecast, and there was like a couple times when the forecast was too big, I was like, oh, my tummy hurts.
I don't blame you, man.
Dude, right?
So
I don't know, like these young kids, I see these young kids go out in waves that are way bigger than me, but I'm like, yeah, it's because they don't have kids. They don't have the fear instilled in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
for sure.
So, but anyway, I got into it, and then. It took me about 2-3 months to start going every day, and then I started going every day, and for a good year I was going twice a day.
Wow.
Now I still go every day. I try to go between an hour to 3 hours a day. Is kind of my sweet spot's like 2.5 hours a day. I want to be surfing.
And how well do you sleep on those nights that you surf?
Well, it's every day I sleep. Every day I surf, so my sleep is great every single day. And I still wake up at like 5:30, so I'm getting old.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, couple of quick questions. You talked about that you attended the adult classes at Surf Dojo, which is essentially right across the street from the Surf Lodge. That is also where originally I met you, because Charlie was in the same surf kids class with your daughter. How long did it take you attending the Surf Dojo before you started to develop joy for surfing?
Yeah.
Where it transitioned from panic to joy, I guess.
Yeah, I would say probably about 3 months before I was like consistently feeling happy to go out in the water and not scared. Because it, like when you see these big waves, you're like, how the hell am I going to get over these waves and paddle out, and they're crashing on you. And I had a couple hold downs too. So I kind of got taken down to the bottom and held down. And that always like sets you back a month when you're held down like that. But then I started doing the wave ramp, like the skate ramp. So I was like skating on the skate ramp, and I started getting a little bit better. And then I just, one day to the next, it was probably about 3-4 months that I started being able to take a board out myself and go by myself.
Okay.
And it was then that then I would go out on my own and pick a time. I wasn't beholden to going out with a group. And I could look at the waves and I was like, yeah, this is something in my level, and I can go out. And I notice, I'm 2 years into it, and I can go out now in big surf, like head high, a little bit overhead. We're talking like 5-6 feet.
That's good.
When it gets to 7-8 feet, the hair stands up on the back of my neck, and I'm like, I'm just on edge, and I'm looking at the waves constantly, and there's no downtime in terms of my alertness, right? And when I feel like I constantly need to be alert on what sets are coming and stuff like that, then I'm not having as much fun. But when I'm, for a good 50%, I'm sitting out in the lineup and I'm totally chill. And then I know there's going to be a big bomb that comes. I'm like, okay, I'll sit on the inside or I'll duck dive it. It'll be fine. Yeah. But when you got to be alert, like 90-95% of the time, then I'm like, yeah, it's probably a little bit bigger than I'd like. And I kind of move down towards the other end of the beach. So,
but you do stretch your skills and your courage a little bit on those, just to practice, just to
and
work your
for sure,
slowly work your
for
way.
sure. And now I'm looking for bigger waves. I take bigger waves because I want to get better at surfing, but I'm also duck diving a lot better. So like when I see a big bomb come, I can get under it, and that gives me a lot of confidence. And you don't have to take every single giant wave. Like just because a giant wave comes doesn't mean you have to get on it, right? So if it's too big, or it looks like it's going to annihilate me, then I skip it. Yeah. Or I'll duck dive the big bombs that are coming out the back. But if it's a good, healthy size, head high wave, I'll happily take it now. So
that's interesting. As a non-surfer, you're still working your surf education out on the lineup as you're looking. You're like, that I'll waste energy on that one, so maybe I let that one go, and this one is a little bit more in line with my skill level, my energy level. Based off of all the different factors. Yeah,
and I break it down to a margin of error. As a 48-year-old man with a wife and 2 kids, there's no margin of error because there's no safety net, right? And there's been times when I've caught a wave, turned around, and started paddling back out, and there's another surfer just flying by and misses me by a foot or two, and I'm like, if his board hits me in the head or he runs me over, I'm screwed here. So I tend to, understand that there's a bit more on the line than if I was an 18-year-old, I'd be out there catching the biggest waves possible, right? I probably wouldn't care, right? So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So so I know that you're a yoga practitioner as well. Were you doing yoga before surfing, or did surfing and yoga come together at the same time?
I don't know where you got that information. I do yoga once every 3 months.
Really?
Talk to Christelle on the beach. She would laugh and say Jonathan's got like some catching up to do on the yoga front. I do have to say, every time I do it, I love it. But I mean, just to shine some amazing light on all the practitioners here in Venao. I mean, between what's happening at Casa Venao with Kashmir and the breath work and the yoga that happens on the beach and the meditation. I mean, we're so lucky here to have access to, you can do anything. You can do something 2-3 times a day. Yeah. Yoga, I wish I would do more. The problem is it's always at 9:00 and I'm usually paddling out to go surf. Right. So it's a little more challenging. And I'm probably a little bit shy to do it too, because I'm like terrible at it.
Yeah.
Oh, same. Our flexibility.
I do yoga. Well, I say I do yoga. Really, I just kind of crinkle myself out. But that's what I had to do to prepare for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, I would have gotten hurt if I would have just started jiu-jitsu right out of the gate. So by me easing my body into yoga, that loosening up my joints a little bit, that helped me get into jiu-jitsu.
But I mean, surfing alone has widened my hips just
for
sitting on
sure.
the board. And I think at one point you and I were having a conversation where you were thinking maybe the Surf Lodge one day would have like a little yoga place, because that way people can stretch and do their yoga before they go and surf. I think that's an amazing idea.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of scoped it out for this coming year to put a swimming pool and a hot tub and then a yoga shala right out front, where you'd basically look out and see the entire bay of Venao. And we didn't get around to doing it this year, but I think we may do it for next year, where you'd basically be sitting out there in the hot tub and just looking at the ocean. The ocean. It would just be fantastic. So.
Yeah,
crazy cool.
Before we forget, for our audience members, the Venao Surf Lodge is so beautiful, and my cameraman is not going to move our camera because we kind of need it stationary. Where can the audience members go to look at shots of your surf lodge?
I mean, we don't. This is again the terrible marketing that we do. We don't even have a website.
But you guys are booked all the time on Airbnb.
Yeah,
correct?
So booking.com. So I would suggest people check out Venao Surf Lodge on booking.com. You'll get all the photos of the rooms. You'll also get a little bit of a view of what, there's a couple shots from like the view that you get up here too, which is really beautiful. We have a very special spot in Venao, like in terms of being able to see everything. Yeah.
And if you go to
incredible up here.
If you go to booking.com, the Surf Lodge is one of the first to pop up, because I was looking a while back. You guys have like the top reviews. Like, this place has done so well since you guys took it over, and being your friend, I've seen how much work you guys have done to this place, and wow, like it turned into an amazing surf lodge.
Yeah, it's really just meant to be a home away from home for guests. Yeah. Like, we get a ton of European couples. So they're coming, they don't want to hang out down at the beach, but they want to go down there to surf and party, but they want to come back here. Every room's got a private bathroom. They're clean, they're well done. Yeah. So they want that privacy and they want it quiet, and then they want to go down and have fun. Generally people enjoy it for sure.
I was in room number 1 earlier, and it was gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. I would stay here in a New York minute, and the outside surrounding areas for if you wanted to do a meditation or a breath work or a stretch or a yoga, it's perfect.
Yeah, when you look at the photos, it's just all ocean. I mean, it really is probably the best view in Venao here at the Surf Lodge. It's just absolutely incredible. I mean, the top mezzanine and the bottom. Yeah. You can see the whole Venao, really. I mean, that's basically the whole beach we're looking at right now.
And you have that breeze that you don't get the bugs or anything like that.
No, we do get them a little bit more in rainy season, but my favorite time is like November to April, when the offshore winds are there. It's so breezy upstairs, and it's so nice.
God, it's just gorgeous. So it's just gorgeous.
This is where I would stay if I didn't live here. I had to come visit, definitely.
Yeah, I would definitely stay here. I would definitely stay here. And what I like about it too is I'm not a drinker. I don't drink a ton. So this seems like a nice spot that I could just come and relax and read my book. And it's still big enough that if people were being a little bit loud, it wouldn't bother me at all because of the birds and the trees and just how the noise is sectioned off here.
The house is big enough that, we've got room for 14. Sometimes there's been 18 people here, including our own family, but it's so big and there's so many different places to sit that you're not on top of each other.
Yeah.
But we've also done a lot to discourage. We have no partying here whatsoever. But we've got minimums on the weekends, so you can't just come for one night to book to party. We've also got
Smart.
a 2 adult max per room on the weekends.
Nice.
So we've got it through the rules of booking that it's very difficult to come and plan this as a party.
Yeah.
We even got rid of the barbecue because people were upstairs having a barbecue and they were staying out on the balcony till like 10:30 at night, talking, making a ton of noise. And then one day I woke up and at like 7 a.m. and all their empties and all their bottles and everything were on the picnic table upstairs. They hadn't cleaned it at all. They'd just gone to bed. And then we have the European guests that are up at 6:30 because they're jet lagging and they want to have breakfast out looking at this view and their table looks like trash. So yeah, we got rid of the barbecue. So
Now you guys weren't. Well, I know this because you're my friend. You guys weren't new to Airbnb, Booking.com because you had been doing it prior for a bit in Canada too. So how much different was it doing it in North America and then doing it here? Like, is it much different?
Yeah, way different because we had like families that we were in a residential place back in Canada, so it was people just basically, it was grandparents going to visit their their brand new grandchild or whatever in the neighborhood. Here you're getting people coming down for they're tourists, they're coming down here to party,
vacation.
they're strictly vacation. So yeah,
no, that's interesting.
I would if I was an author, if I was managing my own business, I would definitely come here, and I would be very inspired to write here. Like
That'd
this
be cool, right?
This location would be perfect for writing because of the nature around, the breeze that's around, the temperature's pretty regulated. It seems like a really creative spot here.
I think the other really cool thing about this spot too is, and a testament to your family.
That
I know
fly's
this fly
hilarious.
loves me. Just land on my dude. Come on, the Playa Venao show. Is the fact that you live here with your 2 daughters who are incredible, friends with my kids. And Meredith, your wife, and you guys just do such an amazing job being here and living here as a family, and then having your guests come, and it just seems to flow for you guys. I know you've said that there's challenges in that, but at the same time, I think you have to be like a really close-knit, connected family in order to be running your business out of the place where you live. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So that's a huge testament to your family and how awesome you guys are as well. 'Cause, I think most families, they're already at each other's necks all the time or whatever. It's like, we're not going to be doing business here and, trying to make a family life here. So
I have to say that the homeschooling helps. Like, we've been homeschooling the entire time, and so we've always been together, and we've also traveled a lot with our kids. Like, we've taken them to half a dozen countries. So they're used to it. So when we get new guests, we get Europeans, we get people from the city coming down, our kids are just used to it. So they're super chill, and we like being around each other all the time, so it works out.
And I think too, when you arrive and then there's just this like cute
What's
family.
up, guys?
There they are.
What's up, guys?
This cute family, that this nice family, that I think it just makes it so much more hospitable, I should say. You just feel like, oh, this is kind of nice. This is relaxing. Yeah,
we dig it. It's I don't know that it'll happen forever, but whether we stay here or we move or whatever, but the Surf Lodge will live on.
What a cool cool thing and chapter you guys have created here.
Dude, and the memories that your family's gonna have of living here, building a business here, helping other families here, watching your kids grow up here,
meeting so many incredible people.
Exactly.
Yes,
learning jujitsu, learning how to surf here. That's incredible.
We're blessed. I mean, we've easily got like a super easy life. Like, I mean, all of us, we don't live under fluorescent lights, and I think that's a big thing, is that just the vitamin D, I think living in the sun and breathing fresh air. I mean, I don't even wear shoes. I haven't worn shoes in 2 years.
Same, man.
Yeah, you guys both.
I finally was just so annoyed with losing my sandals on the beach. So I'm like, screw it, no more shoes. To the point where I have to try to remind myself if we go to the city or something, like, I need to put shoes on.
Yeah. But I don't know why you would. I mean, I would rather be grounded.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very free way of living. I don't know. You just feel more free without shoes on too. It's like, oh man, I'm on my own time. I'm my own man.
Yeah. And I don't wear a watch either, except in the water. But that's
I need to get one for the water.
Yeah.
Beth keeps telling me that, but
Oh well. Until then.
Until then, yeah, it's fine. We do this. This is the.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
sign to get out of the
You know,
water.
But
Yeah.
the problem is you're not always looking this way. You're looking at the waves
Yeah.
this way, you know. So
Yeah. So 5 minutes later, you're still doing that.
So it's like their arms are
I
starting
was
to
always
drop.
waving my hat to Charlie, you know, like, come on, let's go.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But then Charlie did hear from his surf coach, like, you have to wear a watch in the water to be able to time your sets and stuff.
Yeah,
like-
for sure.
And ever since Charlie got that instruction, he's down
Yeah.
for wearing a watch in the
Yeah.
water for sure.
Yeah.
So, quick question about Japan and a comparison of Japan to Playa Venao. I had heard in Japan that it is a very courteous country, and that if you were to go to pretty much any reputable cafe in Japan, eating establishment in Japan, you could pretty much leave your stuff on the table, go use the restroom,
Yeah.
come back, and it'll be there.
Easily.
Like there's
Wow.
there's not
Yeah.
a culture of
No,
petty
you would
theft.
go to Starbucks and, you know, there's going to be 50 people in the Starbucks. Like, they're packed, Starbucks there. And you leave your computer and your cell phone with your bag on the table. You'd go to the washroom, come back, and it would still be there in a packed Starbucks.
I'd heard that, and where I'm so attracted to that is, to me, there's places in Playa Venao that you can absolutely do that, and I feel so grateful for that culture here. You know, for that
Yeah.
culture here, that in Central America, a place that's maybe gotten a bad, you know, unjustly a bad rap.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe in other parts, you know what I mean. But definitely this place, I feel like I can. I mean, first of all, a lot of the doors on our van don't even lock.
Yeah, yours don't even
I
lock,
don't really
for
have an
sure.
option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're right. It's just it doesn't seem like that'd be an issue here either, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are relatively pretty honest
Yeah,
and pretty
Venao,
awesome
Venao
here.
is 100% that type of place where you can leave your bag and go for a swim, come back and know that you know whatever you left on the beach is still going to be there when you get back, right?
That's
So-
pretty special.
I was just thinking, there's only one bad thing about surfing, and that is now that you're addicted to it, anywhere that you plan to go maybe in the future, you got to kind of plan that around surfing a bit. right?
I was saying to Meredith about that. I was like, I can't live where I can't surf every day.
Yeah, like it's part of you now, right?
Like I'm 48 and I had a physical done by an endocrinologist last year, and he'd listened to my heart, and my heart actually slows down when I take a breath in, which is a sign that the oxygen's well saturated in my body. And he said that's like a 16-year-old.
Oh,
And I know it's
This is
because
since
I
surfing.
I know it's because I surf every single day for 2 hours. Just the amount of cardio that you get, surfing,
And you do
living in the
breath work
vitamin D, breath work, all of it.
the ice bath here.
The
at
ice
Surf
bath.
Lodge.
You take care of your health. We're almost the same age.
Yeah.
This is all you have. Your body. That's all you have. I cannot imagine
Yeah.
not surfing every single day. So it'd be tough if we ever moved like somewhere. I couldn't go to a place where I couldn't surf.
I feel the same way. Like I have to live in an environment where I can breathe fresh air, good and often.
Yeah.
Be in nature, be able to walk around, be able to move my body. It's like if you don't use it, you lose it.
for
And
sure.
you're the same way.
No, for sure. And I was just thinking, probably all three of us. I mean, we've all lived in different places. We've all had different chapters in our life. This is probably the most healthiest chapter of my
For sure.
37 years.
sure.
And
Me
you know
too.
What I mean, like I never woke up and did breath work every day, jiu-jitsu, surfing, all in one day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Well, first of all, I probably never did any of those things. But yeah, like it's just pretty incredible that once we arrived here, it's like really our health is probably all changed for the better. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting if when you arrive, but now you should take a health check. And then
Oh,
like a year
yeah.
later,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
100%.
Just
Well,
see-
and like I was just in the water 2 days ago, and one of the hotel owners that we're all friends with on the beach turns to me and said, "Jonathan, we get to live in the best place," and it's true. Like the vitamin D, I couldn't imagine living in a country where you couldn't, you didn't get vitamin D for 6 months of the year,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Well, and studies have shown just like,
Yeah.
the depression and what it does to people. I mean,
Yeah.
And if you're not moving, like we're lucky enough that we get to move all day, but you look
Yeah.
at some of these places in the world and it's just like you sit in an office under the lights all day, you go back home and you sit in the house all day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think that's the pandemic is like lack of movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
but you know what's great about Venao too is all of the adults that are our age or like the parents, there's a core group of us that go surf every single day.
Yeah.
Like kids that our kids do jujitsu with, their parents both surf every single day, and I see them in the water, and then I'll see another dad or another mom in the water. I'll see you in the water, right?
Yeah.
Like we've all got this.
Avi's
healthy
always
lifestyle.
in the water. Avi's
always in the water.
Always
yeah,
in the
he's
water.
going out every single day.
Yeah.
You know?
Orion's in the water.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
No,
Yeah.
no, it's
So
it's really incredible. The wellness here is just next level. You know what I mean? And there's so many things I never even knew about until I got here. Like maybe had heard about it, but never really practiced it or like dived into it.
Yeah.
And man, it's so amazing how many different wellness techniques and things that there are here. And you know, having the surf lodge and stuff that the people can come and then connect with all those things 500 steps away. You know what I mean? Like it's right here. It's almost like someone, you know, had put it in front of you and went, oh, and by the way, all your guests will have access to this.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Oh, and we haven't even spoken of how reasonably priced Venao is.
yeah.
So I would hazard to say that in Central America, Venao is probably the most affordable place to come and learn how to surf. If you go and I did one surf lesson in Sayulita in Mexico, and it was $95 for the hour, and that was a group of us.
Wow.
Here you're paying $40. If you do it in a group, you can get it down to $35. You can't book a room, and I know this because I'm in Booking.com all the time. You can't book a room with a private bath anywhere in Central America for less than 80, 90, $100 a night.
Like
right?
we're talking Costa Rica, all those places. like,
Costa Rica is way off the
crazy.
charts. Nicaragua was expensive.
See,
It's
that's
typically
wild,
90,
too.
100.
Nicaragua.
El Salvador is $100 a night if you want a private bath. Like the fact that you can, stay here on the beach. I mean, some of the hotels here are $60 a night. Now they're shared bath,
Yeah.
but big deal. I mean, for $60 a night, you can come and be steps away from good surf.
And you don't need a car. You can
You
walk.
don't need a car.
You can literally walk
Yeah.
everywhere. And if you did need a car, getting a ride is ridiculously easy.
For sure.
It's ridiculously easy to get
The
a ride.
secret is going to come out globally that Venao is affordable, and then one day it won't be affordable.
Right.
But while it's affordable now, people should come because it's
Now, do you think that's because of the distance from the airport right now? It's more of a secret little spot, and then once maybe there's flights in to Rio Hato all the time, or even to Pedicee, all of a sudden this place
Yeah.
will explode.
I think on a local level that's the case, but on a macro level, I think Panama's done a pretty poor job of marketing itself in terms of tourism.
Yeah.
Costa Rica is doing much better. El Salvador is doing much better. Panama really doesn't
Push the tourism
push
as
tourism.
much as those other countries.
And it was funny. I saw someone had a magazine that they posted, I think, somewhere in the Facebook group or in the WhatsApp group. They had a photo of Playa Venao, some tourism magazine from the ministry or something. A photo of Playa Venao, and the city's name that they put on it was Pedicee.
Oh,
They didn't even call. They had a photo of El Sitio
That's funny.
looking out at the bay. They didn't even call it Playa Venao. They called it Pedicee.
oh
I think
that's
that
funny.
private beach right next to El Sitio going down to has the Pedicee sign
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like,
What's the Pedicee
So-
district, right? I mean, it's
It's
part of the
Pedicee district,
yeah, it's
but
part of
like
the
if
Pedicee
you're,
district.
people are not going to Pedicee,
right.
Yeah.
right?
It's
Tourists-
a big difference from
It's
Venao.
big difference from
Yeah.
Venao, right? So if you're
That's
if you're
funny.
going 5 hours from the city, you're not stopping in Pedicee and then
Right.
not coming
Yeah.
to Playa Venao.
I
right?
agree with you. Now that I think about that, Panama is terrific for tourism, and they don't hype it enough.
No,
it's
not at
like
all.
it's like
Not
an
at all.
underground secret where Costa Rica's like, yeah, come to Costa Rica,
Yeah.
hiking, animals, surfing. Panama has all of that
Yeah.
and more, and they don't brag about it.
No,
Yeah.
honestly, when we were looking up Panama for one of the places we were going to travel, the biggest thing for us was just private people doing their own YouTube videos.
Yeah.
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 And it wasn't even
Yeah.
about Venao. This was a mistake that we found this place.
Yeah.
It was more just, we found this, it was Pedicee. It was like this little fishing town, and we were going to make it our last stop type thing. We just happened to make our way down here. But yeah, like this place wasn't even really talked about. There's a few surfing videos of a beach, but yeah, it was.
It's totally bizarre. Like,
Yeah.
because the waves are so consistent. I mean, you could surf 350 days a year.
Yeah.
There's really only 1 or 2 days when it's so giant big that you can't paddle out. And for the rest of it, you've always got decent surf. I mean, there's some flat days, but then you can just take out a longboard, right? But,
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a guy who was from Costa Rica yesterday, and he actually in 1984 was the national champion in Israel for surfing. And he seemed to think that the reason why there's going to be so many great young surfers coming up from here is, he said, first of all, the consistency.
Yeah.
He goes, you can surf almost every single
Yeah.
day. He goes, the waves are good, but they're not great. So you're going to have days where you're like fighting some bad stuff and you have
Yeah.
to surf some crap
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And he said, that's only going to make you a better surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, and then you do get those great days where it's like, then you get to use those skills on
Yeah.
those great days.
Yeah.
She said, you kind of have that perfect mixture of surf
Yeah.
here, you know?
And then you have Guanaco and Cambutal
True.
when you're ready to stretch your legs a little
Yeah.
bit down
Yeah.
the road.
Definitely.
Going on a fun weekend
Yeah.
trip, pack
Yeah.
the bags full of
Didn't,
sandwiches.
didn't you guys do that?
Yeah, we did.
I
We had a
think-
great time.
we should do
a
more
great
of that.
day. We should.
Yeah.
For
I remember
sure.
you picked up your kid from my house when.
Yeah, did Charlie go with us?
No,
can't-
that was the first time. We did another one. Do you remember that? We did another
Yeah.
one. It was like when
Yeah.
our first year here. But the last one was super fun. It just,
Yeah,
the
it
waves
was
were pumping.
great.
It was
Great
like-
waves. Super. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Venao just come and surf. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a fun
Yeah.
spot. Like, it's a great spot to recharge the batteries. It's a
100%.
great spot to get healthy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's a great spot to just come and just
And there's
get healthy.
There's 5 rooms here.
yeah, 5 rooms that we
5
rent.
rooms.
Yeah.
So so if you're looking to come to Venao,
Yeah.
Surf Lodge, and hopefully one of the 5 rooms are
Yeah.
available, and they're super well priced. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like you said,
Yeah, I mean,
You're not gonna find
sometimes
many places to
sometimes with the last minute discount, I mean, we'll have rooms for 60, 65 bucks a night.
yeah, like come on.
Like, it's so cheap.
Yeah.
You know, weekends are always more expensive, and then during the busy season, but off season, like, is definitely the time to come.
Amazing.
Oh, that's tremendous. So, Jonathan, to change gears just a little bit, you know, we're going into the summer months in North America. In North America, kids are going to be out of school. Families are going to be road tripping a little bit. They're going to be vacationing a little bit. What are some, like, tips and tricks that moms and dads, husbands and wives can do to make sure that their long weekends, that their road trips, that their family get-togethers go smooth and aren't chocked full of bickering drama? Is there
That's a big question, I feel.
anything like any little tips or tricks or things that we can kind of remind ourselves to just stop, take a breath, and have fun?
Yeah, I mean, do you want I always ask my clients this, do you want my honest answer, or do you want me to bullshit you?
Well, we want. Okay, well, what would
But I
be
am
some?
interested in the bullshit.
Yeah,
answers,
what
too.
would be? Okay, so for our audience, give us a little bit of BS at first, and then we'll dive into the honest answer.
Yeah.
Sure. Tips and tricks are, you know, anytime you've got a long weekend or anything that's coming up, it's always going to add stress. There's going to be stress around preparing for a long weekend trip. So if you're married to my wife, she's going to stress you out by, like, you got to get this done, this done, this done, and
Yeah.
we got to leave on time.
The checklist.
The checklist, the to-do list, which is always stressful because you want to get out, right? So
The planning, the preparation.
the plan and preparation. So you got to prepare for that and know that it's going to happen. If you could do that earlier, but no one does. So this is why I'm saying, do you want the bullshit answer? Because
Yeah.
like,
Right.
I'm going to tell you to prepare and be mentally prepared
Yeah.
for the checklist, but you're not going to be.
Yeah.
But then honestly, you know, when you're out having fun, I think, you know, something, and this isn't really bullshit. This is kind of a true answer. One of the things that I've just most recently been working with my clients on is asking yourself in the morning when you wake up, it's Saturday morning, you've booked a long weekend away, and you've gone camping or whatever like that. Ask yourself, how do I want to show up for my kids today? Right? And just that simple question can remind you to have more patience, you know, to not be on your phone, you know, distracted away from the family so that your wife's not pissed off you. You know, how can you be more present? You know, how could you adjust your tone of voice if they're getting out of hand and stuff like that. So just ask yourself, how do I want to show up for my kids today, or my wife, whatever it is, right? And I think that's a really powerful question because it just gets your mind. Basically, it's a future-oriented question. So in therapist speak, I'm asking that question to my clients because I'm getting them to envision the type of person they want to be and how they want to be perceived by their loved ones. So you future orient them. And so you could future orient yourself and ask yourself, how do I want to show up? And then obviously you're going to fill in the blank. I want to have patience. I want to be attentive. I want to be connected to my wife. You know, I want to be there should anything go wrong. You know, I want to prepare. I want to leave on time. You'll start building an image of your mind of how you want to be. And then all you have to do as you execute throughout the day, you're going to have that reference point of what you want to look like or how you want to show up. And then in those moments when you're feeling the frustration, you know, kind of bubble to the surface, you have that reference and say, oh, you know what? I need more patience here. So I think that is kind of a real answer to your question. Like, you know, just asking yourself, how do you want to show up?
It's kind of cool too, because it's like a little mind trick too, which is really neat because it's like, it's getting you to think like positive affirmations, right?
Yeah, it's basically that.
Which is without actually going to think positive affirmations or say positive affirmations. It's really cool to ask that question or have your clients ask that question. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that actually. Honestly, there's
It's-
like times
it
where
is-
you just
it-
know you're going to have a hell of a day.
It is
and it's just
super,
like,
super practical.
I can choose to be a grump today and pissed
Yeah.
off, or I can ask myself how I'm going to show up for my kids today. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
especially like if your kids are going to a jiu-jitsu tournament or a soccer match or
Yeah.
something like that. You're going to go watch your kids play soccer or play football. You know, what kind of dad am I going to be in the stands?
Yeah.
What kind of, you know, how am I going to
Yeah.
show up for them during this moment? That's their moment.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just a spectator.
Yeah.
It's not my game. It's their game.
You can do it paddling out surfing. Like when I first was going on my surf journey and I would get dropped in by better surfers, I would get so pissed off that they were stealing my wave. And now I ask myself, how do I want to be in the water around these guys that could drop in on me? And so now when it happens, the anger isn't there, the frustration's not there. And I could just be like, you know, it's not going to change anything whether they dropped in or not, right? Like how I respond isn't going to change the fact that they did it. But you can let go of that anger and that frustration and just move on with your day. Because, you know, to hold on to that shit is really just holding you back.
Yeah.
You can't enjoy your own holiday if you're pissed off at your wife or kids, right? So you got to let that stuff go. And by letting it go, you can forgive, move on. You're not going to hold resentment. And you can enjoy Disneyland, right?
Yeah. And I guess along those same lines, you could also use the question of what does fun look like for my family and us today or tomorrow? You know, how are we going to have fun and recharge our batteries or have fun and be together as a family?
Now, I'll ask you guys this. Why would we just limit that question to ourselves? What if you woke up 8 a.m. Saturday morning and you're at the campground and you go around the campfire or, you know, go around the campfire wherever you're sitting and ask them, how do you guys want the day to unfold? How do you guys want to show up today? How do you guys want to behave today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So if we can future orient ourselves, why can't we do it with our kids?
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
Wow, that's pretty
It's
powerful.
like Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah.
It's totally Jedi
Yeah.
mind tricks, right?
Yeah. It's
I'm
pretty
going to start
powerful.
using that.
I mean, you could even ask them, you know, hey kids, you know, it's Saturday morning, 9:00. You know, we're making some bacon and eggs. How do you guys want the day to unfold? Right?
Yeah, that reminds me of last Saturday when Ben messaged me and he said, Valor wants to do the hill run. I'm going to go do the hill run. Do you want to do the hill run? And it was like, Valor was like, this is how I want to show up today.
Yeah.
You're
I did.
youngest.
Yeah.
You're youngest. And he enlisted us, and it was a pretty good hill run.
Yeah, man, it was fun.
It was a good hill run.
That's right. No, that was good.
Yeah.
Our kids motivate us to get our butts and do
Yeah,
stuff sometimes,
yeah.
right?
You have to.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And what a cool trick. I'm definitely gonna use that with my kids without trying to have a speech to them. You know what I mean? Because you kind of want to say that or get them thinking like that. And the only way that sometimes, at least I've done it, is you try to be like, so we need to kind of get in a good mood.
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
whatever, Dad. You
Yeah.
know. But if you just ask like a simple question, like you're communing with them,
Yeah.
it's like a Jedi mind trick. I really
Dude,
like
totally.
that. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
that's
great.
really cool.
Yeah,
we didn't know we were getting like a little bit of a therapy session too. You know, we're gonna leave this and be like super
Oh, I have
Awesome
so
dads
many.
now.
Listen, I have so many more questions for Jonathan. I want to do
It would
like
be like a 5-hour podcast.
I want to do a separate interview with Jonathan. I want to hide it behind a paywall because I got
We'll
some
go deep.
real questions for Jonathan that
Yeah.
I think YouTube might be like, no thanks,
Yeah.
you know. So.
Yeah.
You mentioned when you go out in the waves, it's like you're able to to not get pissed off now when someone cuts you off or whatever. I was gonna ask you because you've been on the waves a lot more than I have. You've noticed, at least I've heard too, it's a decent culture here, right? Like people, you get
It's
your
50-50,
guys.
yeah.
Is it 50-50? Okay, yeah. Because I don't know, I've had a few guys get a little bit cranky with me out in the water.
Yeah,
and,
there's
and then I've had days where it's been incredible, and people are like, "Oh, don't worry about it" or whatever. I'm
it's
like, cool.
totally it took me about probably a year and a half to become a local, and now the other locals they don't steal my waves all the time, so they're a bit more respectful, which is nice, and I try to show them respect, and if I drop in on someone, I apologize immediately.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely still people that I know, if they're surfing, I'll surf wherever they're not surfing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll move
Mostly
on down
because
the line.
not because I think personally they want to screw me over or anything like that. I just know that they're really good surfers.
Yeah.
They're gonna take whatever wave they want, and I don't want to battle it out with them. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go surf over here. You have fun over there.
Yeah,
right?
like you said, you're getting out there so it's not stressful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why you put yourself in a stressful situation.
Yeah.
I've noticed that too. I just don't feel the vibe with the people around me. I'm like, I don't know.
yeah. Just move.
I know
just
the waves
move.
aren't as good over here, but
Yeah.
I'd rather have crappier waves than.
But a little trick is when the place, like for me, the main point, it's the right in front of the resort. I like to take, if it's empty, I always start there because I know it's going to get busy, and then when I get kicked out because everyone's fighting it out, then I'll move to the lesser wave. So go to the place, if it's empty, go there first, and
Yeah.
then you can always migrate.
Okay.
So,
It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
did you guys want the honest answer, by the way?
Yeah, give us the
Yeah,
honest
yeah.
answer.
About how to make a
I thought you gave us the honest
No.
That was
the-
the BS answer?
no, I gave you the middle of the road honest answer.
I like
Okay.
the middle of the road one already.
Oh, okay, we can leave it at that.
No, I'm ready.
Oh.
I'm ready for the. Give me the.
Okay, so
Give me the meat and potatoes.
Just to recap, the middle of the road answer is: how do you want to show up for your family? How do you want to
Yeah.
show up for your loved one?
Yes,
that's
exactly.
the middle of road
Yeah.
answer, and we should all strive to show up as our best selves for our
Yeah.
loved ones, even if our loved ones annoy us a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's the positive answer that people will want to hear.
yeah.
And the BS one was make a checklist.
Yeah, all
check
that,
it
like-
twice.
yeah.
Which none
Have
of us
everybody
ever
has
did.
their
You know,
responsibility.
be mindful.
Yeah.
That like fluffy
Yeah.
advice, right? That doesn't
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Okay, and so where the rubber meets the road advice, the real honest advice.
Yeah. My experience as a couples therapist, as a family therapist, the worst thing that you can have in the home if you have children is alcohol.
Okay.
It truly, a lot of people can handle their alcohol, but a lot can't. And every couple that usually, a lot of them that come to see me as a couples therapist, or, I witness, or you hear stories, it's usually because alcohol just lowers your inhibitions so much. It destroys your filter, your ability to show up for your loved ones. That's where I see the substances are truly the worst thing. So if you really want to kind of limit, the risk of, having a bad weekend or a blow up fight, reduce your alcohol intake.
Wow.
I'm not saying lay off it completely. Have a glass of wine or two. But if you think you're going to drink a bottle of wine and then be your best self without, being set off and being angry or something like that, you just run a higher risk.
So
And most
So-
people who go away, I mean, that's what they're
Yeah.
thinking they're gonna do. It's like,
Yeah.
got the cooler, got the Yeti with me, and we're
Yeah.
gonna go and. But yeah, no, I mean that makes
Alcohol is the
complete
worst thing on the planet for sure.
Yeah.
I still enjoy a glass of wine or a beer from time to time, but now that I'm 48, it's rare that I get over one or two drinks ever in
Yeah.
one sitting. It's just because it's for families, it's not a good thing, and maybe that was my own personal challenge, and that's why I could relate to it. Right? I would notice I would become an asshole if I drank too much.
Yeah,
sure.
I know when
Yeah.
I drank.
Not you.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
for sure you do,
Yeah.
man. I remember that time.
Yeah.
I've been a jerk many a time when I had too many drinks.
Yeah.
So I don't drink. I
Yeah.
No, thank
Yeah.
you.
You got
And I
your
don't-
tea. Your tea's incredible.
Listen, I love my tea,
Yeah.
and I dislike body inflammation. And
Yes.
alcohol just inflames my body.
Yeah.
I just do not feel good at all.
I think the world is waking up to the fact that alcohol is like smoking.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really not good for us.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all those famous podcasters now, Huberman and whatnot. They'll tell you don't even drink one drink,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know that you need to go to that extent. And like I said, I think you could still, go to a friend's house, I'll have a beer, whatever. I still think you can. But I think, when you've got a wife and kids that you got to show up for, there's that word, show up.
Yeah.
And you think you're going to pound back 6 beer and be the best dad and the best husband on the planet, you're probably got an
Yeah.
uphill battle there.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beth, my wife, has been sober now for 5 years. Just
Yeah.
one day was like she didn't like the way she would get angry. She didn't like the way she would wake up groggy. She didn't like so many things. She didn't like the fact that her weight was getting heavier. This is after kids. She had, some postpartum depression after kids, so she was drinking a bit more. And then one day she's just like, nope, done.
Yeah.
And hasn't had a sip for 5 years. It's
Yeah.
just incredible how much she says she feels better and has changed,
Yeah.
and the way she can handle situations. And yeah, honestly, I think you're right. I think alcohol can be a huge issue
huge.
in the family.
Yeah.
Your chances of getting cancer go down significantly
Really?
if you stop drinking.
Really?
Yeah, it's because of the sugar and the inflammation.
Yeah.
It's because
Sugar,
of the
yeah.
the
For
sugar
sure,
and the
too,
inflammation.
yeah.
Like if anybody stops drinking for any length of time, you'll notice that person might gravitate towards ice cream a little bit,
Yeah.
or go
Yeah.
grab like a
Yeah.
piece of candy or something like that, and it's their body kind of screaming out for those sugars.
Yeah.
So if you can get away from that sugar.
But
addiction-
if they legalized weed here, that would be great. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if it was much like in Canada now, you can get whatever you want on, and I don't see the same level with marijuana.
Yeah.
People, you just don't see people get angry in the same way when they smoke a
No,
joint.
if anything, they get
Yeah.
the
You
know what I
opposite
mean?
usually.
yeah.
It's completely apples to oranges.
It really is
It
apples
really
to
is,
oranges,
right?
or hops to cannabis.
Yeah.
I mean, usually if you put two drunk guys together and they get pissed off, they're gonna get a fight. You put two high guys together and they're pissed off, they're just like, oh, screw you, man. They're just gonna walk away. You know?
When we
I'm
left,
too tired to fight you.
yeah.
Yeah.
When we left Toronto to move down to Central America, I was renovating our house at the time, and we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood in Toronto. Family neighborhood. Well, I was buying CBD bud, not even THC, but CBD bud. So my favorite thing at 8 o'clock at night after we put the kids to bed is I would take my CBD joint and I'd grab a Red Bull, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And I would drink my Red Bull and smoke my joint, walking around the streets of this really nice neighborhood. There'd be like families here and grandparents walking there.
Amazing.
And but yeah, it was good times.
That's the
Yeah, it
Red
was
Bull
good
joint
times.
guy.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah. That's so funny.
But I wish we could get CBD weed here. It would be great. Like, it's so
Yeah.
good for your
No,
inflammation.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I
I think, and
so.
another, like you said, people are the world's waking up to the harmful thing that things that alcohol can do. I think they're also waking up to the benefits of marijuana,
Yeah.
and what it can do. And I
Yeah.
know you said that with your family too, with what your wife overcame, and how,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was-
and
it was-
my wife too with postpartum depression. Marijuana really helped a lot.
Yeah.
I just think
Yeah.
there's so many. And Beth also worked in hospice.
Yeah.
People who are on their deathbed. And man, she said there were so many clients that she had that if they weren't on medical marijuana, their last week of life.
Oh,
would-
yeah.
And they were just so thankful for it because they'd have stomach. They wouldn't be able to eat, but then they'd have a joint. Now they have their appetite, so
Yeah.
it gave them that extra.
Yeah.
There's so many things that it helped them with. I'm not a medical person, so she could dive into it, but
Yeah.
she's explained to me the benefits so many times, and it's incredible.
I think we're going to see a lot of new medicinal applications for cannabis in the future, especially
Yeah.
with it now, being a Schedule III drug in the
Yeah.
United States. They're changing it to a Schedule III drug in the United States. I don't know what else is a Schedule III drug, but apparently what I've heard is
Yeah.
it has some medical benefits. And I will say with my family, those medical benefits have been very positive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that my wife
Yeah.
would be here
Yeah.
if it wasn't for what the cannabis oil did, to
Yeah.
help with the cancer.
It's amazing, yeah.
Just breaking down the membrane and
Yeah.
and just helping ease the inflammation. It's,
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, kids in
Wow.
just bring back kids in Colorado. I think is when they first did the study with autism and stuff, and they would put them on CBD oil,
Yeah.
and it was just like it helped them
The
out.
epilepsy.
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 Yeah,
It was
yeah,
autism
yeah.
and epilepsy. Yeah,
Yeah, the
But
epilepsy.
the epilepsy. That's right. This kids who are like dying with how bad their seizures were. There's just like every time they had a seizure, you didn't know if it was their last one.
Yeah.
And they were on like 10 different
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical
Yeah.
drugs.
that
Yeah.
turned them into zombies.
Yeah.
You know more about those.
Oh,
than-
I know a ton. I can't give medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but I definitely don't buy into the pharmacological approach to all these things that
Yeah.
maybe some of these drugs have uses short term, but to think that to get on drugs like that it's a long-term game plan. Go out and get some vitamin D,
Yeah.
change your life, build some healthy
Natural
habits.
stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think if somebody wanted to get their head right, the first thing they can do is step outside, take a walk.
Take a walk.
Put your feet in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a walk. Go eat a healthy meal.
Yeah,
With
not
real
processed.
food.
Yeah.
With real food, rice, beans, whatever, vegetables,
Yeah.
whatever. Try to stay away from sugar.
Yeah.
Try to stay away from alcohol.
Yeah.
Start moving your body. If you have the luxury to go surfing, and you have the desire to be in the ocean like that, there's just so many healthy ways that you can do it, but it just takes,
Yeah.
you have to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah,
you
people
know?
want to take a pill. It's so easy to take a pill than to change your lifestyle, right? And so,
Yeah.
I actually don't work. I've done a lot of work with people that suffered anxiety, depression, but it's why I've now focused mostly on either family therapy or working with couples, is because I can't really help someone that's bought into the medical model where they think I need a pill for depression, and that's their game plan for a long term. It doesn't align with me, so I tend, it's like surfing. I'll go surf over here. I'll work with these people and not someone who just wants to put a pill in.
But I do think if you can heal the family, you can heal the patient.
For sure.
For
sure.
by starting with the family, I think it's a great way.
Yeah.
to-
Yeah, but everyone's got to have the motivation. I mean, if you want to seek alternative healthy treatments, and it's funny that they're called alternative because they were actually the mainstream treatments. The Western medicine should have been what's called the alternative. The Chinese medicine, the herbal medicine, they've been
Yeah.
down around thousands of years. I'm pretty sure penicillin's only been around like 100 some odd years, 150, whatever. So people need to seek out, holistic healing and not just, the sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pills will still be there.
Yeah.
But those long-term
Yeah.
behaviors
Yeah.
are what really help you out.
Yeah. And then what if you can get off a pill because you did it,
Yeah.
right? Like who wouldn't want that, right?
Yeah.
So
When you hear about a lot of these people, like we were saying, who are on all these pills, and then they start taking a more natural approach, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden I don't need this, and this, and it's
the problem is what they won't tell you is that the pills cause side effects that get re-diagnosed or newly diagnosed, and then they get a new pill for that. So if you look at psychiatrists back in the 60s would tell you that they would see one bipolar patient a year.
wow.
And now bipolar is a very common diagnosis. And why is that? It's because when someone's got unipolar, which is just simple depression, they give them an antidepressant like an SSRI. Well, that boosts their mood. So now their baseline is down here, and then they become manic because they are on this new SSRI. And so now they've got a baseline mood of depression, and then they've got a manic period where they're now at the other end of the spectrum. Well, instead of that being diagnosed as a side effect of the SSRI medication, it's given a new diagnosis called bipolar. And why is that important is because with a bipolar diagnosis, you get a different type of medication. Usually it's called aripiprazole, Abilify. So you get a second type of medication. And then what happens when they're on those two, then they may start developing an anxiety because now they're going up and down, and then they get
It's
a
like a
third
snowball.
an anxiety medication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing these days is adult ADHD.
Yeah.
It's ADHD is a great way to sell a lot of Adderall and Ritalin,
Yeah.
right? So now it's the most in vogue diagnosis right now is ADHD, and it's definitely loosely thrown out there as a diagnosis because it's a windfall for whoever selling medication.
Well,
so.
and I think a lot of ADHD in adults probably comes from you're just doing something you don't enjoy and don't like, so you're not attentive to it.
Yeah,
so
you're probably
it's like,
sitting in an
why
office.
am I not attentive? It's
Yeah.
like, well, because you probably don't like, making, I don't know, whatever you're making,
People
or doing whatever you're doing, like.
How someone who's forgetful with appointments will now say that they have ADHD. They've now got a diagnosis of ADHD partially because they're forgetful with appointments. They don't write stuff down. They miss appointments. They have trouble keeping appointments, and that's now become a criteria for a mental disorder. I'm like, yeah.
No, I think you're right.
They're stretching it.
What Mo was saying, like, I think if people can, I know I could not do jiu-jitsu without my asthma inhaler until I came to Venao, and now I don't need my asthma inhaler until I came to Venao. And I totally 100% know that that's because the air quality being away from the city here, doing breath work, doing ice baths, doing whatever. So I think you're exactly right. I think people need to start doing more wellness things. Like, you're a vegan as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like eating healthy food, doing all of these activities, looking into things. It's like, oh, I struggle with flexibility. Well, then you should probably maybe do some yoga.
Yeah,
like,
do yoga.
I struggle with asthma. Maybe you should start doing some breath work and start doing, you know what I mean? So it's like, not every wellness practice is for everybody. You know what I mean? I'm not into some of these wellness practices that are on the beach, but I'm definitely into the ones where I saw struggles in my own life. So I started looking into those avenues, So I find that incredibly
well. And then the sad
important.
thing is, then they get other diagnoses too. So when you've got the depression medication, then you got the bipolar medication, then you got the anxiety medication. When you've got three of those, then what happens? They usually always lose their sex drive, so then they get put on Viagra or Cialis, right? So now they're taking 4 medications.
And then their partner's frustrated because they're not.
Well, and then they may
present
even
for
get
their
weight
partner.
gain. They usually get a lot of weight gain with that stuff too. So then maybe they get a thyroid medication. So they could be on like 5. Maybe they get developed diabetes. It's just meant to keep you sick, right? So you got a choice. Like, you got this, like, I'm gonna put these chemicals in my body, or I'm gonna do some lifestyle changes, right? So yeah.
I will say the lifestyle changes in Playa Venao are awesome.
Yeah, and they're
And
pretty.
fun.
They're easy to pick up. Like, if you wanted to go and learn breath work and do breath work, you could find it relatively easy.
And there's so many beginners here that it's not like you go to a dance club and everybody's really cool and you're like, oh, I don't know anything, I'm just going to stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Everybody is a beginner in Playa Venao.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beginners in Playa Venao. There's a lot of people that come here to just kind of learn, get jump started in meditation or get jump started in ice baths. And then they take what they learn here back to where they're from and implement it more there. Like, your father-in-law started doing ice baths in Canada from what he saw here.
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. No, for sure. Yeah, exactly. You come. I mean, like I said, when I came here, I didn't know about a lot of these practices, and I think when people can come here, they can find the ones that work for them, and take it back to wherever you're from, and share it with your friends and family. I think another thing about Venao that's really cool that helps is the fact that there's not as many things to pull on. Like, we don't have Taco Bells. We don't have things like that. So it's like, when you remove yourself from some of these things, the temptations, and it makes it easier because we're not all Superman and Superwoman type thing. It's like, when I got super hungry and I'm driving by a Whopper place or something, it's tough sometimes. But here it's like, I love my cheeseburgers.
Well, I can eat a bag of chips anytime. If there's chips up there and I've just finished surfing, I'm like, I'm eating it.
And it's not to say you can't get French fries and hamburgers and pizza and stuff around here, but it's just not as like in your face. So you just you remove yourself from some of those temptations too. So I think you're right. Start doing more wellness stuff. Remove yourself from temptations, and I think you can start to live a lot more of a healthy life.
100%.
And don't be afraid to give up alcohol. It ain't the end of the world.
For sure.
It ain't the end of the world. There's
Well,
plenty.
you did too. Sorry, I was talking about that, but you gave up.
I gave
You
up
drank for
alcohol
many
20
years.
years ago. I don't have any cravings. I don't have any desire to go back. Initially, the first couple of years, I did have some cravings. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But then those cravings go away, and you enjoy running. You enjoy being with your family. You enjoy doing these things.
Drinking green tea.
Drinking green tea and coffee with your friends.
Yeah.
And nobody looks at me weird when I don't drink
Yeah.
because I'm drinking a club soda with lime in it, or I'm
Yeah.
drinking a kombucha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, I still dance, I still talk to people. It's just, it's
Yeah.
fun and friendly, you know?
That's what Beth said she found the hardest part is like going out now. It's like, oh, why aren't you drinking type thing. But she goes, that she found that when in the first maybe couple years, but she said I think now that the awareness has come out a bit more, and a lot more places sell non-alcoholic beer,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
incredible
Yeah.
how close some
Yeah.
of it. Some of it's crap,
Some
but
of
some
it's
of it
great.
actually
Heineken
tastes,
is not bad. Like
Heineken,
it's
that's the one
basically
Beth, she
the
goes,
one
it
I
basically
drink.
tastes like the actual
Yeah.
beer. She goes, really? She goes, it's fine now. She goes, I
Yeah.
feel like I can go anywhere and be socially comfortable without, Beth's fine with it anyways, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
But I
you're
will
right.
say though, if there was a weed gummy I could take before going to a party, I'd love that, and then I would drink a club soda and enjoy it completely.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
If I wanted to like party or just have fun or
Yeah.
loosen up a little
Yeah.
bit, like
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been. So, what other questions do we have for? Like, I don't want to take all of your time because
Yeah,
I could talk like this for 2 more hours.
No, for sure.
But what other questions do we
well,
have for Jonathan?
We really want to talk with the Surf Lodge, and I think we've said where people can go and check that out and find the rates and see the beautiful pictures, and definitely come visit Jonathan and his family if you're here. And if you don't stay at the Surf Lodge, you'll see them anyways on the
Yeah,
water
yeah.
or anywhere else. They're very involved in the community. We wanted to talk to Jonathan a bit about his therapy and his Instagram.
Yeah. What is your Instagram for?
Oh, it's couples therapy with Jonathan.
Couples therapy with Jonathan.
Yeah.
And I would say, even if you probably have what you think is a healthy marriage, your clips, when I watch your clips, I take away so much from it. In my brain and in my heart, I feel like my relationship with my wife is good, but there'll still be things that I see you put up there. I'm like, man, yeah, I could totally do better at that, or I could totally,
I could do way better. Like,
so that free information that you give
Yeah.
out is gold.
Yeah.
So I would say to anybody, everybody check it out for sure,
Yeah.
which is super awesome.
It'll make your vacations more fun.
for sure.
And
for sure.
if you have a family at home, you might as well have fun with them.
For sure.
You might as well
For sure.
recreate teamwork
For
and
sure.
family all over again. I've met plenty of families that were kind of in rough shape,
Yeah.
kind of needed some work, and they've been able to recover beautifully.
Oh, people can
Like-
change. If it was your mind that changed and your mindset that changed to make basically I tell couples you can go from roommates to soulmates whenever you decide. If you went from soulmates to roommates, well then if you had that shift in your mind or your mindset, you can shift back. There's 2 things though. You got to endeavor to wake up every single day to hold the well-being of your partners ahead of your own. And then the second vow, the second commitment we make is to show up better every day in our relationship. If you commit to those 2 things, you're probably going to win at the relationship game. And I really just did this out of self-preservation because I had 2 parents that both had 2 bad divorces, and I'd been shuffled from holidays from at this house to then driving to this house, and I still have to do that as an adult, driving between houses because mom's having dinner here and then dad over here. It's garbage. I didn't want anything to do with it, so I always wanted to make my relationship good. So
That's brilliant advice. Can you say those 2 things again, slow for the audience, so
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
because you said it so fast last time that I want the audience to be able to chew on it. some
yeah,
more.
no, it's you have to, without a doubt, hold the well-being of your partner ahead of your own. And you've got to commit every day to show up better in your relationship than you did yesterday. And if you do those bare minimum 2 things, at the very least, you're going in with a fighting chance. At the very least, you're saying, I'm here to do better. And I'm here to learn, right?
Yeah. That's so smart. Really being invested in your partners and your
Yeah.
family's happiness and having that reciprocate,
Yeah.
having them be invested.
Yeah, because they're going to hold your
in-
well-being ahead of their own.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
Johnny, am I right in saying too that other couples therapists who maybe are in an office right now, they're seeing the life you live now, they're going, man, maybe I can do this in a different way where I can be on a beach or I can be somewhere and do kind of what you're doing with your Instagram and getting clients to book you over, online. They can reach out to you as well. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah,
And
for
you have
sure.
courses
yeah, I
you
used
can
to do
help out
that.
therapies?
Yeah, I used to teach other therapists how to grow their practices online. This is back in 2018. And I did that, but yeah, I mean, I would help another therapist now, but I
Amazing.
definitely more just enjoy working with couples. It's more of a passion.
Right. I'm just thinking, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are maybe our therapists looking at Johnny's life.
Dude,
and
I
stuff
look
going,
at Jonathan's
"You know what?
life and I'm
gonna
like,
make a couple switches
this guy's
here, you know?
amazing.
Yeah,
Could
yeah.
you imagine? Like,
Yeah. No, it's so cool. It's so cool to have friends around you who are living these healthy, great lives because it puts you in check and it just makes you, you know what I mean? Just it motivates you. Oh, there's Jonathan surfing. Oh, there's Mo going for a run.
Yeah.
Oh, there's what's his face, you know, doing breath work, or there
Yeah.
she is doing, and it's just like it makes you want to do something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
not like I'm gonna sit in the garage and have beers or something.
Yeah, I mean, we all have the choice. Do you want to drift sideways or do you want to grow? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people here in Venao, they don't want to drift sideways, and that's why they're here, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people in your camp, if you have great people in your camp,
Yeah.
that helps you grow, you know,
Yeah.
for sure. So,
Yeah.
wow, incredible advice,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be using it for sure, you know.
man, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's been a great
Dude,
time. It's
yeah,
been
thank
an
you so
awesome
much.
hour spending with you guys.
Yeah.
This is podcast number 9, right?
Yeah, man. Number
Yeah.
9. We actually got 9 of these things.
That's
or
it.
maybe 8. I don't know. We
Yeah.
kind of lost track a little
But Johnny
bit.
made
but-
it in the top 10.
Yeah, he made it in the top 10 for sure.
Amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you go to booking.com, you go to, from booking.com, it's the Venao Surf Lodge.
Venao Surf Lodge, yeah.
It is awesome up here. The rooms are fantastic. I can't say enough cool things about your location.
Thank you.
The walkability to the village of Venao is super great. The walkability to the beach is
Yeah.
super great from here. So that's
Yeah,
pretty
it's right,
cool.
It's right there.
Right, yeah, it's like really,
I've been checking the waves because I'm
I know,
going to
I've
go
been
surf
watching
in
it.
about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is couples therapy with Jonathan
Yeah.
on Instagram.
On Instagram.
Yeah, we can find you there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, thanks again for
so
Thank you
much,
guys for
everything.
having me. It was
Yeah,
great.
I appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And we'll do
Okay.
round 2 sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love
exactly.
it.
When
I'd
you're
love
at
it.
like 1 million followers, and then you're actually going to give us more views because, like, oh, Jonathan's on the Playa Venao show, you know?
Yeah.
I wish. Yeah.
Okay, Charlie, can you stop the filming? Bye, guys. We'll see y'all later. And
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Take care.